Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Welcome back. On the bench today is a pretty interesting 5-string bass. It's a Dudacus Tiberius Attack 5, I think is what it is. We're gonna delve into this. It's got a couple of problems. One very glaring issue. Let's get to work and I'll try to explain what's going on here. Pretty interesting bass guitar. Handcrafted individually, one at a time, from what my research tells me. The customer brought it in and said he was attempting to adjust his truss rod or his string action and trying to get at the truss rod, but he said once he tried to adjust it, the string action went really bad on it. So what actually happened was, if you can see that right there, I can stick my finger in underneath the strings, my thumb almost. What actually happened was he started to loosen. I don't know if the camera's picking up on that right there. Focus. He started to loosen the neck screws with string tension on it. And it actually pulled, it looks like the top two and probably the bottom two out of the neck. Not good. So it's a very interesting bass, and we're going to do our best to fix this. First things first, we have to get the strings off. When he brought it in, I loosened the string tension on it so that it wasn't still trying to yank on the neck, but we got to get the neck off, and I have to evaluate how bad the holes are and go from there. So pretty straightforward. We're going to get the strings out. We're going to try to save them. They look relatively new, or they look like they're in good shape, so we should be able to put them back on. I'm going to pause while I get the strings off, and then we'll get to removing the neck. So stand by. So in the process of de-stringing, a couple of other things revealed themselves. Got a really wonky control here, so we're going to have to get that open, figure out what's going on there. But yep, the nut popped off. That's no big deal, but let's get it over and get to the business end of this job, which is going to be a little minor surgery here. A little minor surgery. Let's find out what's going on in here. That's a first one. The first for me. I have never seen that happen before. Mistakes happen, that's for certain, and this is one of them. You get doing something that you're not 100% sure of, either consult a professional or University of YouTube, I always say. Go to 396 Guitars. We'll teach you how to adjust your own truss rod, and you won't get a catastrophic failure like this. But we're only human, and we make mistakes. It's okay. We're gonna do the best we can to fix this girl and make it play again. I'm out of there. Here we go. So there's our body. It does have a shim in it, so I would assume, I'll tell you, the build quality on this guitar is really nice. So, judging from the price point and the little bit of research that I did on them, they've got high quality Aguiar active pickups in it. So they hand build these, and the build quality is pretty damn good. I got to tell you, it's got kind of a I don't know if this is painted on and clear coated over, or if it's actually a beading, but it doesn't. It's hard to tell. I gotta get my Mr. Magoo eyes on. I don't know. I can't tell. It doesn't matter. Something else I noticed, his battery box is boogered, so I don't know if I have one. I'm going to try to figure that out later. Got a loose strap button and a loose pot there, so once we get this sorted out, oh wow, yeah, there's some really bad holes there. Let's put this one down for a second. Let that rest peacefully while we get to the business end of the problem here, which is right here. And I'm going to almost guarantee that we're going to have to over drill these because the screws are now pulled at such an odd angle from the damage, and I just wouldn't trust putting them back in to hold this guitar together. I wouldn't trust it. That one's not as bad. This is the worst one. Oh wow, yeah, that one's pulled that way. Well, against my better judgment, we can try to just bolt it back up, but let's just see how far down they go and do they grab. Boy, it actually seems like it's going in there and tightening up. I'd rather not drill these out and put oak dowel in there and fill these. It seems like, I mean, there was that much screw pulled out right there. So I know there's damage in there, but it looked a lot worse, I think, than it is, but man, it's kind of a crossroads. It seems like they're going to pull up. These were the two that were pulled out, and these are the two holes that are actually the worst, because when it got pulled and yanked, these two pulled out. And there's actually, you know, some of the clear coat and finish is pulled up and cracked and chip out around the hole. But I think what we're going to do is we are going to try to mate it back together first with these holes, and we might get lucky. And I think that'll save the client some money. There's only one way to find out, and that's to bolt the damn thing back together. And if they pull up and snug up and get tight, then we'll be okay. But if they get down to where it's tight and that last turn they start to spin, then we have no choice but to take it back apart and drill these out and put hardwood dowel in there and glue them in and start with a fresh surface to work with. But I think that's what I'm going to do. These screws seem to be going in and doing what they're supposed to do. So we're going to find out together right now. Let's put our shim back in. Get our screws ready. We have a shim up in there. Gotta say, really interesting guitar. I know this never comes out on camera really well, but I'd like to see this happen. Make sure our shim is doing what it's supposed to. Get a good hold on it and get a screw in it. Let's see if they pull up. There's only one way to find out. It's a leap of faith. Yeah, no. It's a leap of faith sometimes. They're going in, and they seem to be grabbing, having purchase. So let's hope for the best. Won't know until we get down to that last torque where you really got to put some turn on it. That one right there seems loose. That one tightened up. That one tightened up. And that one snugged up. And that one snugged up. I think we are going to forego any drilling and filling. It's got a nice joint, nice clean, tight pocket. A little bit on this side. That's not abnormal. I think we're gonna roll with that. I think we're gonna roll with that only because they torqued up and they're gonna hold. I don't think they're gonna take going in and out, in and out, in and out a lot, but it shouldn't have to ever come off again. That's where the truss rod is, not down here, which is good. So I say we move forward. I'm pretty confident that this will be okay. They really tightened up and snugged up nicely. So I want to know what's going on down in here. That's really wonky. Let's get that off of there, find out what the hell is happening with that. He said everything was working. I asked him that first right off because this stacked pot looks kind of loose and wonky, like the top part of it is not on there straight. So we're going to find out. I did not test the electronics in it. We're going to tighten that up, and of course we're going to test the electronics in the course of putting it back together and restringing it and cleaning it up and doing all that good stuff. I'm a little relieved that we didn't have to drill into that neck and fill it. I hate doing that unless you absolutely have to. It's a permanent fix. I mean, I've done it a million times. You'd be surprised that happens more often than you would think. Especially with guitars where the truss rod is down here and techs over the years take them out, take them in, put them in, take them out, to adjust the truss rod. And eventually the holes, the bolt holes in the neck wood get whopped out of shape. And I've seen everything from jamming stuff in there to try to make the screw grab purchase, but that's okay when you're talking about a small screw like this. Okay, put a piece of toothpick in there and that'll hold it. But this is holding the entire guitar together. That needs to be in hardwood and it needs to have good purchase. Yeah, fella. What in the wide world of sports is going on here? Yeah, it's just as loose can be. That one's loose too. A three-way switch. It's an active base. Must be, I'm thinking the preamp is in that guy right there. Yeah. I think we're just going to tighten this stuff down and we should be good to go because he says it does all work well. I don't know if this little screwdriver is going to make it. Probably not. Let me get my other ones. Yeah, let's get in the movie a little bit. So you got to take the knobs off first. I can't tell if the, oh yeah, the post is whopped out of shape on it. It seems to be moving a little bit. Let's get it tightened down and see how it reacts. I think that's an 11. Yep. Yeah. I really want it to be pointing in the right direction in the control cavity. No, it seems to be okay. There's a little wobble to the top part of the pot post, but I think we're going to be okay. That's the other one that's moving. That's a push-pull. And it's a 13 instead of a 11. There, snug that up. Snug it up. All right, what's the problem here? Get over there. Everything's fighting me today, except the neck. That went together like it was greased. Everything looks good in there. Nice work. I mean, really nice work. I see some really strange solder dots on the Faraday box on the copper shielding, but all this looks really good and clean and nice and tight. I like that. So far, I'm becoming a fan of the Dudacus. So far, I'm becoming a fan. Of course, nothing ever wants to go back the way it came out. There we go. Dudacus or Dudacus. So they don't have, yeah, that one's really wonky. Here's a failure. These are, you know, screw type knobs, and they should be on a solid shaft, not a knurled split shaft, because all you're doing is squeezing it together. And when I looked at this one closer, this is the stacked one. It's squeezed all the way together. Yeah, that's a fail. Sorry guys, but I got to call you out on that one. I got to clock it the way it is because it has to grab there and not in between. These are tight already. They're okay, but I can tell. And when you look from the top of it, it's actually bent slightly. Against my better judgment, I'm going to try to spread that just ever so slightly. Put the knobs back on. That shaft is bent. I can see the wonkiness in the knob, the lower knob. I can see the wonkiness. Let's try to line these two guys up. But it is better. The bottom one is like going, it's out around, but it's operating smoothly, and he said it was working, so at least we tightened all that up for him. We'll see. We will see. Screws back in, glue the nut back on, and then we're going to take a pause while the glue dries a little bit. And I might tap test it while I'm waiting for the glue to dry. It's hard to tell with active electronics tap testing. Make sure everything's working. Hopefully we're good to go. Really pretty guitar, I gotta say. Digging on it. It's too much guitar for me. I'm a meat and potatoes player. I don't like all this extra stuff. I got a Music Man there that I rebuilt. Refer to the Stingray rebuild and paint process. And I'm starting to like that bass more and more. And it's the first active bass I've ever owned. I don't play active basses. But it's a thumpy bass. Oof, it's got some balls. I'm sure this one does too. These are monster pickups. I'll bet this thing sounds like thunder. All right. One problem fixed. Second problem fixed. I am going to tap test it really quickly before we get too far here. Let's see. Everything's working. At least the output jack isn't loose. All right. So that one's trying to turn. That's backwards. There we go. This one's still trying. Yeah, everything's working. There's our active circuits. This one's still trying to spin on the post. It doesn't want to tighten up. So I'm happy with that. At least everything's working. We know we can move forward. I got to tighten up that knob before we proceed. Otherwise, I'll probably forget. You know, for everything that's into this instrument and, you know, hand built and all that, I'm calling a failure on the pots and the electronics that they chose for it. Just saying. I'm just saying. There we go. I don't like to over tighten things, but that one didn't get tight enough. Just saying. We should have solid shaft pots. Let us glue the nut back on. That just popped off when I was taking the strings off. Yep. Am I even in the video? I don't know. Let me move move down here a little bit. Putting a nut on is not that big a deal. They come off all the time. I like that they didn't put a lot of glue on it because you just don't need to. It's got a bone nut, I can hear it. Doesn't quite fit exact. So what we're going to do is try to split the difference. Right there. And I mean a little. You only need a drop and a drop. And one in the middle. And that will usually hold it just fine. And you got about a split second to get it right. Otherwise you're going to be pushing it back out again. I like that. That's where it was. That's exactly where it was. And I'll bet you anything it was moving on him because it just literally fell out. There is my... That's all there is to that. We're going to let it dry. Let it cure. I'm going to pause really quickly. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so as you can see off camera, I put the strings back on, but I also cleaned up the base. I boogered around with the battery box as much as I could. It is not a standard size battery box. I have battery boxes in stock. That one is longer this way. And the screw holes are in the same linear pattern, but that's not a standard battery box. I wanted to fix that for him, but unfortunately not. I did tape it up and test it, and it's working correctly, but you know, the battery boxes, they always break. I wish somebody would come up with an aluminum one that works the right way. So, I digress. To bring us full circle, I know this video is getting a little long in the tooth, but to bring us full circle, the reason why this gentleman's bass ended up on my bench, because he tried to adjust the truss rod, but he didn't realize the truss rod was in here, and he loosened up the neck bolts thinking the truss rod was in there to adjust his own guitar. The reason being is it doesn't play well. He said he was trying to adjust his string action. Well, I can tell you that by checking his neck relief, which is what you adjust with your truss rod, it is so straight that the feeler gauge gets stuck in the guitar. Yeah, I eyeballed it. It's so straight that it's almost in a back bow. And I say that all the time. And what does that mean? It means the neck is actually in a hump. So yeah, we do need to adjust the truss rod. 100%, absolutely. I'm assuming, and this is a common adjustment. It's not the end of the world. It just, that's what it needs. Looks like it might be a 5. It's not a 5. I gotta get a different tool. It says made in the USA. Let's assume it's made in the USA, and it's 3/16 maybe? No, I could tell it wasn't 3/16. I don't know. I don't know sometimes. I don't know what it is. That's too loose. So maybe it is metric, which would be if it's not 4 and it's not that, it isn't 5. I tried 5 in it. Nope, but 4 will work. I know what we got to do. Yeah, we're going to get it all in one video. I'm just going to adjust this neck and do a setup on it, because at the end of the day, that's really all this instrument needed. And it needs the truss rod to be loosened so that we can get some relief in the neck. You follow? Let's see what that got us. Usually I don't make videos this long. I try to keep them around a half an hour, 30 minutes or less. But let's just go full circle and get this guy's guitar on its way. Keep it with the 1st fret, hold at the body joint or the 17th fret, and at the 7th fret you want to just kiss 12 thousandths. Needs a little bit more. It's too tight. It's too tight. If you don't have the right neck relief, you're never going to have the right string action and everything else. This is the first adjustment you have to make in a setup. It is the first adjustment you have to make. Make sure you're up to string tension. You're tuned up to pitch. Well, we're getting adjustment out of it. And that's the good news. I would have been surprised if the truss rod didn't work. I think we're probably going to be good there. I think we're probably going to be good there. I like that. Now we have the correct amount of neck relief in there. Neck relief refers to the relief in the neck. You want to forward bow slightly. It is a misconception that you want a straight neck. It just doesn't work that way. Because when you pluck the string, especially on a big honking strings like this on a bass, they have to go around in a perfect circle and vibrate so the pickups can pick up that vibration. And if they don't have the proper neck relief, they're going to buzz open and in other places. It seems like a really stable instrument, but I'm going to qualify that with this thing is going to have to sit overnight to make sure that no shenanigans happen back here from the debacle, the mistake. So once you get your neck relief set, it's time to get into string height, and then we're going to check pickup height and intonation. Of course, I'm going to adjust that while I'm here. But this is going to pretty much finish it up. I'm going to show you just how high the string action is. The survey says 8 over 8/64, 8, 8, 8. No wonder this guy was trying to lower his string action. Yeah, that's done with neck relief and saddle height. You got it? Right down here. We're going to have to lower all of them down considerably. They're probably 2 to 3/64 of an inch too high. And we're going to get his saddles all level and everything. This is all set up. This is all set up. There's another fail right there. I see him. That's why they put a shim in, because he's got some protruding set screws in his saddles. That's why the builder put a shim in the neck, trying to change the neck angle enough to absorb some of this protruding set screw in the saddle. It needs more. I can tell you that right off the bat, but it'll play. As long as we don't scrape our hand on that, we'll be okay. Looks like we're going to have enough adjustment. That saddle's Katie Wampus on us. It's kind of tilted. It's funny. The G saddle is almost slammed all the way down. The B saddle is almost all the way down. Yeah, this thing needs a bigger shim. It doesn't surprise me. But I think we're going to get good action out of it. I think we're going to get the adjustments where we want to be. I am shooting for 6/64 across. If this instrument is built as well as they say it is, it should tolerate that. Because my bases do. And I built my own. I know this is boring to some of you, but remember, this is not only for all of us, it's also for the client that owns this instrument. He's going to want to watch all this and understand it. And many of you too, judging by the views. Thank you. Let's check that again. String height. I hope we don't have to go down too much lower. This is where fine tuning is going to come in now that I knocked them all down. I know it's hard to see this. We have right at 7 on the low B. That's going to be my highest string. I may be able to lower it slightly if the instrument will bear it. 6. Just below 6. Above 6. Below 6. So I am going to. So this one is 7. I think I want to lower that just slightly. If it will bear it, it looks like that saddle is almost all the way down. That saddle is almost all the way down. We're at the end of our adjustment. Yep. And when you get all the way down and you have no more adjustment left, guess what? It's time for a bigger shim. Sorry to say, but perfect. That one's just below 7. So 4, 5, 6. I think I can lower the E slightly. Again, this is all fine tuning. This is all part of a setup, and I will commiserate over this for quite some time. So I'm going to pause while I finish this little exercise. That one's a little high, which is our D string. I want our saddles level to the body as well. Perfect. I'm going to call that perfect too. Geez, I don't have to pause. Let's just tune it back up and check one more time. Make sure that you're rechecking after you tune back up the pitch after adjustments. I think this instrument would bear the B string being lower. But it ran out of adjustment, as did the G, but the G is there. The B is all the way slammed down to the deck. But we have no buzzing, open, and I'm going to double check that I'm happy, in a happy place with my adjustments. Just over, let's see, 4, 5, 6. It's right at 7. 7/64 on the low on the B. 6, 6, 6. Just right at 6, just a little bit lower than 6, and that's okay on the. It's okay for him to tail off slightly, but very slightly. Very nice. Let's see what our intonation is telling me. It's sharp. It's sharp. A is good. D is good. G is good. All right, I'm going to adjust the intonation on these. We're going to call that good for this video. We did a lot, and it's all in there. We fixed some things that he didn't really bring it in for. He was freaked out because the string action was about that tall, and he didn't realize until I pointed it out to him that he had, you know, the neck was separating. And then he said, oh, I was trying to adjust the truss rod, and he thought the truss rod was underneath the neck plate. So he started undoing those screws, and with neck tension on it, what did it do? It went. So luckily, it didn't gall out the holes. It got down to where the screw couldn't bite anymore because the screw is tapered, a bolt, a wood bolt, and it got down to where it started to taper down, and that's what pulled out, because when I put it back together, it pulled up and found purchase again. So that speaks to the solidness of the wood. It's dense wood. It didn't just rip it out like a cheap piece of wood. So we're going to call that good. This instrument is set up and it's ready to play. I think he's going to be very pleased. No buzzing anywhere. That's beautiful. I love that. You know, I love that. That's what we were after. That's what initially started him down this path of. So yeah, I digress. It's Blackjack with 396 guitars. We have a success story with this guy. It could have been bad, but it would have been repairable either way. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your likes and shares. I appreciate all of you. I try to answer all your comments. So if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. We'll talk soon. And please share.